the all-new 2K11 Pro. So unlike the 5-inch gun, it's obviously shorter. It has a full-length dust cover on there. And this is very similar to what a lot of folks liked about the original Staccato P, right? So the full-length dust cover, 4-inch barrel, the lightning cuts across the slide, the, let's say, stainless gray finish on here. It's not stainless, it is more like a matte color on there. And then it has the carbon fiber grips on here, which are extremely grippy, right? And aggressive in a very good way. Again, like I said, I've never shot one of these. So to be frank, it could shoot like, or it might not. Let's see how she does. Ooh, that is smooth, right? Trigger on it feels really nice. It's got a very nice flat trigger. We'll show you some of this stuff close up, but let me get through a magazine here. You'll notice on the Kimber 2K11 pistols, they do have an external extractor on them. That's say a separation or a difference between a standard 2011 pistol, and it's really nice to see. And of course, in addition to that, they also have a relief cut on there for the extractor itself. With that being said, what that does, it actually helps out in regards to being concerned about if you dead drop the slide. Now, me personally, I pretty much never do that, but it is good to see. The barrel is a ramped barrel on here, and then it is a bull barrel, meaning there's no bushing on the barrel or anything like that, bull barrel. And then it does have a one-piece guide rod that is not toolless. It does take a small tool in order to actually disassemble it. How this thing feels in your hand is absolutely fantastic. So, again, like I said, I have never shot one of these, but the trigger on it is really good. The safeties are very tactile, and how they, deactivate, you'll notice there's a nice positive detent or a nice positive click. On the back of the grip safety here, you notice there is a memory bump on the rear of your beaver tail, and it is blended. I don't notice any hot spots with the pistol right off the gate. So we'll come out of our holster now. Again, this is fitting a Staccato 2311 holster that I actually have here, so we're going to use this. This is just going to be 6 rounds on the buzzer. So 7 because I can't count. It's all right, let's run it again. So this thing does feel great. That's it. So the gun's completely empty now. And now let's take a minute. We'll break this thing down a little bit. We'll talk a little bit more closely about all the features on the all new Kimber 2K11 Pro. Let's talk about the Kimber 2K11 Pro. So this being a 4-inch model, like I mentioned before, it does have a carbon fiber grip on here, an MJD carbon fiber grip. It is very grippy, right? It has a lot of good aggressive features for it. Some folks may say it's too aggressive for them if they got little baby hands, right? But for me personally, I really like how it feels. And then it does have a little lip here on the bottom, and it does have a little bit of a funnel as well down here on the magwell itself. Now, the rest of the pistol, again, like I said, it does have a nice beaver tail, which is fairly blended. I mean, it looks blended very well, in fact, when I depress it, and there's no rough edges or anything like that. Just shooting it there a little bit for the first initial, let's say 19 round mags is what these are. So you get 2 Checkmate 19 round mags that do have a aluminum or metal base pad on them, made in USA. They seem of great quality, right? They fit great in the pistol. They drop nice and free, and the button itself is pretty standard when it comes to like a 2011 here on the right-handed side for a right-handed shooter. The trigger itself is a K-style trigger, and it is a flat face trigger that does not have any texture on the front, but it's not real smooth either. Almost like the finish they did on it is a little bit rougher, quote unquote. Now the dust cover on the front here, it is long enough to mount a full-size 1913 Mod Light PLH V2 light. Fits great on here. These are fantastic lights. They're probably my top choice when it comes to a duty or weapon light. So I did mount that on here in order to really utilize the holster I'm wearing today. Up here in the front, you'll notice that there are lightning cuts across the top, and it also assists in slide manipulations. They are deep, aggressive, but they're honed and they are not sharp whatsoever. In fact, it's really nice to see more of like a factory build coming out, not having any rough edges and having a really great finish. This does have the granite gray finish on here from Kimber, and Kimber does a fantastic job on their coatings with their pistols. Now on the front, if you don't want to mount a red dot, which we'll talk about, you do get a fiber optic front sight and then a blacked out rear, which is a good height overall, right? But now if you want to mount a red dot, it does come with a plate. In this vent, it is an RMR plate. I was able to mount it up there for it. This is the optic-ready model, so I was able to mount that up there. It does not co-witness, right? Because there is no rear sight on here, which is a little bit of a disappointment for myself. That is probably one recommendation I would make to Kimber and say, like, put a blacked out iron on the rear and give you that front one. Now, granted, they are generally trying to do that to kind of keep the cost down, because as you've seen with the rest of the 2K11s, depending on the model, right, most of them are sub $2,000. Now, that's a good thing because the overall quality and how this thing feels is right on par with what you see from like a Staccato and some of the more expensive production 2011s. Now, the slide to frame fit on this pistol is really good. Obviously it does have a metal, let's say quote unquote frame, and then the lower is the polymer or carbon fiber in this case. How this feels compared to something like the Springfield Prodigy, they really don't feel like they're in the same ballpark, right? The Prodigy is an okay pistol for what it is. We had good luck with them. But the slide to frame fit and how this thing feels on the slide is no different than all the Staccatos I've ever owned or used. And again, this is a production gun, right? As far as for how much fitting or whatever goes in at Kimber, I can't speak to that because I'm not there making these pistols for them, right? But how it feels is just really, really smooth. What I've noticed on the Prodigy is that, let's say you pull it back a little bit on the slower side and you release it forward, you will start to actually feel it get hung up on the frame itself as it comes back in. Now, that is some of the parts in there that kind of cause that, but you don't feel that on here at all. And in general, the parts on this pistol, unlike what you find on the Prodigy, they are not MIM parts, right? These are billet or machine parts, which generally speaking does lend to a more durable or reliable part itself. So essentially what you're getting is more of like a premium pistol, but not coming in at that super expensive 2011 price tag, generally speaking. Not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. Now the plate that you get on here, it was pretty good. I did have an issue though. I'll be upfront and honest about that. That when I actually went to mount the red dot, the plate itself, I actually ended up stripping out one of the screws just trying to get it tight. Now I was doing it to the torque specs that are required using a torque wrench. I mounted a lot of red dots, a lot of plates. I also do tons of precision rifle scopes and things like that. I mounted for friends. Very familiar with how to mount them, right? I wasn't even using, Loctite or anything like that. If you use Loctite, a lot of times it kind of changes your torque specs, but it did strip them out very easily. Now was able to get it out. I replaced it because they do give you some extra screws in there, which good on them for doing that. But it looks like they did partner with C&H Precision for the plate itself. Now, pistol wise, it has a good overall weight to it. Of course, my light does add some weight to it itself, but how it feels like pointing at the target is like you would expect with most 2011 pistols. It has ambi safeties on it and about everything you expect for a good, well-made 2011 style pistol. So the 2K11 Pro here, the 4-inch model, is a pretty slick overall offering. The only way though that we can really review this and give the Hunt Fish Shoot seal of approval is to shoot it. So let's shoot it some more. Ah! We're gonna do a reload on this next one. I'm gonna do 1 reload, 2 more then in the center target, do 3 on the right target, and then 3 on our C-zone USPSA steel. So with this pistol, what I've noticed is how it returns back to 0. It's like the dot doesn't leave the window with it, right? Now that's fairly similar how most 2011s are, but how this feels like spring weight and how it performs is significantly better than what I was used to, like let's say just a Prodigy. Even the 2311s I've shot, they're really good pistols, ultra reliable, but they are not like the smoothest recoil cycle overall. And this thing, it's a pretty significant difference to how most of the other pistols in this category feel. We're gonna do this from the high ready, 2 on each. Ran out of boulots there on that. Let's take a look at our targets real quick. That one over there looks A-okay. I got one out here. This was from getting her zeroed. Oh, I got a couple over here just to the right, you know, not too bad though overall. You can notice there on the target how they're outlined. And then we'll go over here. Obviously you saw the steel. How the pistol shoots. The 2K11, it shoots really nice. Like I said, like the recoil impulse on this is very straightforward, like you would expect with a 2011, but it doesn't dip whatsoever, right? And especially even with the weight of the light on the front of the gun. I'm not noticing it push down. Now granted, lights do add a little bit of weight. However, I shoot most of my guns with lights nowadays. No big deal. Of course, we could take it off, but how it feels and how this thing, just the overall recoil cycle is very straight. It tracks extremely well. You know, if you're interested in like a 4-inch 2011 or double sec 1911 gun, this is a really great option so far. And what I've really noticed is that the ejections and things like that with this pistol, running the 124 that we're using today, is really good. It's very good, strong ejections that are ejecting pretty darn, let's say, consistent. And overall, like I said, just very, very nice overall. Let's put a bunch more rounds through it. From here, what I'm going to do with our Kimber is what I'm really working on with the pistol is just trying different drills, different things I like to do with most of striker fire guns, the 2311s and stuff like that. But also too, trying to determine its reliability, right? We took it out of the box. I threw just a wee bit of little lube on there just to get her a little soaked up. And I want to see how it's going to perform. We're just past 100 rounds now. So we're going to push like I have 4 mags loaded up. In fact, I got some Dura mags I had sitting around the house from the Prodigy. They'll probably work just fine, but we'll try them as well. So this will end up pushing us with these 4 mags past 200 rounds and give us a little better idea. Now, full length, you know, 1,000 round reviews, that's something that we will accomplish probably with this pistol because we like it a lot so far. And usually when I like to shoot guns, I'll just shoot them a lot on my own and we'll come back and, you know, update you guys. But for this initial release and bring it to you guys, let's just run it. Now you'll notice that I did take that very gingerly and very slow, right? But the big thing is like on that, our total time on there was just under 9 seconds. So, you know, it's not slow in general. We had good hits in the nasal cavity, good hits over here on our left target as well. So we're gonna run it again. Again, this will be from close quarters retention. It's probably gonna throw me into a reload this time, so we'll see what happens. We'll start with our hands up on the target. All right, all good hits again. 1 extra shot there, my fault there, but overall good hits. The pistol shoots really, really well. How it performs is pretty darn fantastic, if I'm being honest. It's pretty impressive. Again, I had never shot one of the 2K11s, so I wasn't too sure what to make of it. I'd seen them at SHOT Show a little bit, but I didn't really get a chance to shoot them. So now what I want to do is the same thing, except I'm going to step on the gas and shoot it a lot faster. So when we push the gas a little bit, still good hits over there. I did throw one a little bit high on the head. It still would have taken off the top of the head there. Overall, all good hits here. Still good hits here from retention. All good A-zone hits. That was in 4 seconds. 4:24 to be exact. Let's run it again. I'm gonna speed it up. I'm gonna beat 4:24. So 396, we did pick up the speed. Again, all good hits here. Still all maintaining A-zone there. We're not far away, right? But we are effectively training for positional shooting or training some type of movement and things like that for dealing with a threat at close range. I shoot some competition and stuff like that, but I do like to focus on things that apply to real world scenarios. So the Duramag though is running just fine. It's got essentially 1 round in the gun and 1 round in the magazine. And I got an additional mag, which let me check compatibility on the length. So it doesn't look like it's actually going to work here with this one. This is a 17 rounds, so it's a little bit on the shorter side compared to that, which is kind of surprising. I feel like it would, but that's not going to work in there. So no big deal. I'm going to take a couple rounds out and throw them in one of our checkmates. Now we're at roughly 20 yards from the targets, right? Yeah, we're about 20 yards from the targets. I'm gonna shoot the target here in front of me, transition over to the paper and do that. And then we're gonna ultimately have 3 separate reloads here. So now in the gun, I should have about 4. I've got, let's say 1 in here, and I've got 3 here. So what I'll do, I'll address the target in front of me with 4, I'll reload, put 1, and then I'll do 3 on our steel. Okay. The Kimber 2K11 Pro 4-inch model. Got a few more rounds to put through it to give you our final thoughts, but at the performance of this pistol doesn't speak for itself at this point in this review. I don't know what to say. I mean, personally, I'm shooting it great, if you ask me. For a gun I haven't shot, now I have shot a decent amount of 2011 style guns so far this year, but how this thing performs, how it shoots, how the trigger feels, really, really great job, Kimber, if I'm being honest. It is really just a nice shooting gun. Yeah, I love how this thing shoots. Really incredible stuff. All right. 1 round left in the gun, throw us into a reload on the reload. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put 1 round in the head on our hostage swinger target, and then I'll do 2 rounds on the left target and 2 rounds on the right. So with this pistol, I'll show you here once I empty out this mag and it locks back, we'll show you how dirty it really is at this point. Because like we've pushed past, you know, 200-300 rounds now, and we're probably closer to 4. And it's just is chugging along. The ejections are good and strong. If anything, I think they've gotten better. So from the holster again, we'll shoot our head swinger, and then 2 rounds on the right target, 2 rounds on the left target. Yeah, like the ejections on this pistol are pretty incredible compared to even some of the Bull Armory stuff that we shot recently, which are great pistols as well, falling into a similar category, which future video we'll definitely have to do some comparison in that regard, but really pretty darn good. All right, run it again. Okay, so let me show you here on the pistol. Come on in here, Andrew. All right, so like we said, about 400 rounds into the pistol now. Hopefully you're able to get a good look inside the chamber on this. You know, so the pistol is very dirty right now. It's not getting sluggish. You know, I've had folks in the past or say that like your thumb's going up high on the side of the pistol or something like that. They're actually causing the gun to malfunction and, you know, making excuses for guns. And we just don't do that here at our channel because we like to make gun reviews honest again. That's it. Well, hard to say it doesn't shoot well. I mean, I haven't probably shot a gun out of the box arguably as well as I shot this today. I've shot a lot lately, right? I shoot well over 20,000 rounds a year. The pistol shoots really, really great. I'm thoroughly impressed with the new Kimber here. The Kimber 2K11 Pro 4-inch model. I personally tend to gravitate towards 4-inch models versus the 5-inch, and probably for good reason. I just sometimes feel like I like how the slide reciprocates a little better. I feel like sometimes it's a little bit smoother and how it tracks is a little bit faster. Now 5-inch guns, shooting iron sights. I generally happen to like those a little bit more in that regard. But how this 4-inch performs, I mean, and how dirty this sucker is today, right? I mean, it ain't a clean gun. We don't want to put this on our nice blue jeans, but very, very slick gun. Kimber, I think, has knocked it out of the park with the 2K11 series. I had never shot them before, but this Pro 4-inch model will be a hit, and I highly recommend it for anybody on the fence about the Kimber 2K11s, especially the all-new 2K11 Pro.